everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Seduce Me to the Demon War. In the last episode, a lot happened, like a lot. We, after our training, we went back to our room and we were captured along with James by the angels and he was being tortured and we were kind of being mentally tortured, but we broke free and he killed some angels, and so we're gonna have a target on our back from these angels in the future. But for now, hopefully, I think we're done with that whole angel storyline. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, then we happened to overhear Diana's co-war leaders or whatever, and they were planning to kill her after the war because apparently she is going mad, which is not just like mental madness, but it's like something a little more complex than that. It's almost like a disease. So yeah, we gotta find out what else is going on, because it's more than just like her being crazy. So let's hear the full story, you guys.
Who are you to question our reasons?
Shadow stepped up to me and leaned close to my face. As I stared into his black eyes, I could feel the world around me grow darker. He was truly a scary being, and his cold tone made me that much more afraid of him.
You're a human. You have no say in what we do here in this world.
But
We are not asking for your permission.
my anger suddenly exploded. I was pulled into the room and being treated like dirt. I didn't appreciate it one bit, so I straightened up and got into Shadow's face. Wow, you go, girl. I'm not asking for yours either. I just want to know. Shadow and I continued to glare at each other before Shadow scoffed and turned away, crossing his arms. Rabbit shook her head, tapping her staff on the ground.
Regardless, we can't have you remembering the conversation we had here if we are set on stopping her.
I took a step back, now afraid. Were they really going to kill me? Faye sensed my fear and waved their hands wildly.
Whoa! Hey, hold on! We're not gonna hurt you or anything!
Faye is so cute. That was somewhat of a relief, but what were they going to do? As I took a breath, Shadow spoke up, catching my attention.
I'm curious, human. Do you believe in the succubus?
What? The other rebel leaders looked to Shadow as he placed a hand on his chin in thought and peered into my eyes.
Who do you believe should rule this world? The succubus? Or one of us?
And suddenly, I became the focal point of the entire war's resolution. Why was my opinion important? I looked to the floor, trying to mull over his question and come up with an answer. Diana had saved my life and was doing everything to make sure I could go back to the human world as safely as possible. Still, from how she was behaving, something was indeed seriously off with her. Was she really ready to take the throne? The 4 rebel demons before me, however, were all smart and balanced each other out in some shape and form. I could tell that they could all bring peace to the world in some way, but did Diana really have to be eliminated for that to happen? I felt like I was standing on a precipice. I knew that if I sided with Diana, then she would eventually be eliminated by these 4, unless she found out beforehand. I could warn her, but what if these demons erased my memories or threatened my life? I was balancing on the edge of a knife, and I had to pick a direction to fall. Oh, this is huge! This is huge! I don't know! This is big. This is a big choice. Okay. I closed my eyes and answered Shadow's question. This is hard. I mean, she explained the reasoning perfectly. If I say I believe in Diana, which I really want to say, because I like Diana and she has been nothing but good to us in this game, they're just gonna see me as an enemy. And I feel like no matter what I say, they're not gonna believe me, and they're gonna like, not brainwash, erase my memories or something. I'm not gonna lie. I believe in Diana. Do what you will. Diana had done so much for us. For me. There was no way I could betray her. The four in the room stared at me, taking in my reply.
What does a human know?
Well, we did ask.
Enough. We need to continue this another time. For now...
Yeah. I knew they were probably gonna do that, but I didn't want to lie. You know, I just wanted to stick with my girl. Rabbit lowered her staff and pointed the tip at me, causing me to step back in fear.
Et ex memoria de hot loco mentem.
All at once, I felt my head completely fill with white noise, causing me to grip my head and fall to my knees in pain. Gah! I shut my eyes and felt the world spin around me, before I relaxed as silence overtook my senses. My body floated for a bit in an empty void before softly landing on a surface, causing me to open my eyes and look around. Huh? What happened? I was in the hallway on the floor. How did I get there? I was on my way to my room. Weird. Well, she don't remember, but we, the audience, do, and that's the important part. I stood up, brushed myself off, and looked around, hoping that no one saw me snoozing on the floor. When I noted that the coast was clear, I quickly continued on my way to my room. I must have been more tired than I thought. There must be a point to this. I suspect that even if I said that I believed in them, that they would have erased my memories anyway. I really have a feeling. At some point, the memory has to return, like in the moment, in the heat of the moment, or something. You know what I mean? I finally returned to our room and flopped onto the bed, letting the events of my time in the abyssal plains replay in my mind. I was trapped here, hunted by angels, and soon enough, I was about to go marching into battle against the demon lord for my freedom. The more I thought about it, the more surreal the feeling became. I was going to be in a room, meeting a powerful adversary face to face, and set myself free of the curse he brought down upon me. Add that I was captured by angels and almost killed by them, made the time I had spent away from the human world very wild. It felt like a dream, but I knew it couldn't have been one. This was too vivid, too real to be even close to a dream. As James entered the room at last, I smiled and stood, walking over and wrapping my arms around him as he returned my embrace.
God, I was so worried about you.
And I was worried about you. We held each other, locked in silence and unable to say anything more. We had been in a heavy predicament, and we escaped. Sure, we were probably branded now, but we escaped nonetheless. All we could do in the moment was hold each other and listen to our synchronized heartbeats. As the thought of tomorrow danced in my head, I began to fear it even more. Was I ready to go into battle? Was James? Or any of us, for that matter? We were about to walk into the final battle of a world war. Would we survive? Would I live to see James afterward and feel his embrace again? Tomorrow brought too many questions to think about, and I became frustrated and scared. Ooh. I mean, we don't have to, but it might be nice. If they show too much, I will probably just edit this part out. I'll see what it's all about, okay? So you guys don't have to worry. If it's oh boy. Let's see what's gonna happen. Aw, they're so cute. I needed to hold him and treat the night like it was the last night of the world. Tomorrow was unpredictable, but tonight was guaranteed. I slowly got... Oh my God. Okay. I always get so uncomfortable when I have to read this part. I slowly glided my hands to cup his head, looking up at him and staring deep in his eyes. I felt his hands gently slide across my waist, softly grasping my hips as he stared patiently at me. A rush of courage ran through my body as I gently pulled him forward and captured his lips with my own. My eyes fluttered closed as I took a deep breath, taking in his scent, his warmth, his love for me. I was blessed to have this man as my own, and to see him claw through destiny to remain with me and be mine. As he slid his hands up my back and hugged me closer to him, I could tell he felt the same. A small chuckle echoed from him as James petted my hair.
I love you so much.
I love you too, James. I will never let you go. We would survive. We would be okay. I felt safe in James's arms, and I'm sure he felt safe in mine. We would return to the human world and be okay. Tomorrow would decide everything. Okay. Well, so it wasn't that bad, guys, but I still feel like I am going to have to edit that out. So, yeah. Anyway, let's continue on. The day of the siege had finally dawned. We had arrived at the Demon Lord's castle, and we were as ready as we could be. Many armies, bearing different banners and colors, washed over the grounds before the castle, ready to rush in and lay waste to the Demon Lord and the remainder of his forces. All of us shared a common enemy, and, upon his demise, would all finally know some form of peace. Even during the roll call of the major generals, the air became full of determination and pride.
Mirth! Avarice! Nausea! Fiorna! Aradum!
Sounded like you said nausea for a second there. Each name called became a mark on history. This was the war to bring freedom or destruction to the demon world. If the rebellion didn't win this fight, then this war would never end. If the rebellion won, then the world would become united in a hopefully peaceful rule. The hour before the battle was set to take place. My thoughts instantly ran back to our final meeting in Lilith Castle. Diana had pulled the leaders and us together, instructing us on how exactly to proceed.
Zero, you will be joining Shadow and Sergeant in the front, taking care of the main army head-on. I expect that you will come out of it alive.
Yes, my lady.
Rabbit, Faye, you are in charge of range attacks and defense. We cannot allow any of those blasted imps getting to us from behind.
Yes, ma'am!
As Diana looked to me, I grew slightly fearful. I had to get into the Demon Lord's castle, but how exactly did Diana plan on getting me there?
You and your fiancé will take the side route straight to the castle.
Wait, huh?
We've organized our army to have our strongest on the front lines and against the tree line, giving us a side route for you to make your way straight to the castle.
And what about his brothers and their wives? What are they gonna do?
If anything trickles into the side route, you'll be able to handle it. However, there is something I must ask of you.
What is it?
If you are indeed attacked, you need to defend your fiancé the entire way there. Do not let him use his energy.
Okay, good. Let her do all the work. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
When you get to the castle, I will be fighting one-on-one with the Demon Lord. If something should happen to me, then I need you to take over. She is not ready to fight him, and you need to be at full strength to finish him off.
The humans should be able to handle a few imps.
I stared, listening and reaffirming the order. I couldn't lie. I was nervous. However, I was determined enough to see this through. I looked over at my fiancé with a confident smile. I got this. Don't worry. Despite the worried look in his eyes, he nodded and held my hand, trusting me and my decision to agree with Diana's command. Diana rolled her shoulders and looked at the map draped over the war table between us all. Her gaze pierced into the parchment as the aura around her body pulsated in anger.
I will fly ahead and meet the Demon Lord head on. No matter what happens, I will not allow that monster to live.
You go, girl. The pure determination and anger in her voice practically sent a shiver down my spine. She was set on seeing this through to the end, and I was sure that she was willing to even die if it meant taking the Demon Lord with her. The remaining incubi and the wives were asked to stay behind the army and guard the main base, where Rabbit and Faye were stationed. Okay, they answered my question. They needed as many eyes as possible in the back of the battle, so the 4 couples were perfect to keep things in check. As they agreed, the meeting ended and the mental preparation had begun. The idea of the upcoming battle scared me, sending waves of fear and worry up and down my body in response to the thought.
Nervous?
I would be lying if I said I wasn't. James smiled and held my hand tightly before bringing it up and kissing over it.
No matter what happens, we will end this, and you will see the human world again. You have my word.
I trust you, Bay. I listened to him speak before nodding, taking in a deep breath. Everything would be okay. We would be fine. I had to believe in myself and get us to the castle when the time was right. Like a beacon. Ooh, cool. Our forces became the banner of hope and strength for the rebellion. At the sight of Diana, many soldiers bowed or stared in awe and inspiration. Maybe it was her presence, or maybe it was for what she stood for. But as Diana stood at the cliff side of the mountain, the air became full of energy and power. My fiancé, Rabbit, Faye, and I stood behind her as Diana stood on the ledge of the cliffside, addressing the rebellion for their final battle. Her voice echoed across the field, booming and reverberating through the air like thunder.
Milites! Et hoc liberati isturei tramcun tuis omnibus conversiris, sto vobiscum reducitic vos adspem, nocte, lavabimur, arcem, hostium sanguine.
Okay, all I see blood. Sanguine is blood. Nocte? I don't know. Is that night? I don't know. Libertati, like freedom. Okay, I kind of get the gist of it though. What is she saying?
She said that she stands with them and will help them gain their freedom from their enemy. Tonight, the Demon Lord's castle will be bathed in blood.
Woo! Latin. I can understand some Latin because it's kind of similar to Spanish, and due to learning medical terminology for some of it's Latin. So yeah, cool. Really?
I don't think she means it literally, but she's riling up the soldiers for war, as she should.
I nodded as I stared at the back of Diana's head. A part of me felt a little intimidated and jealous of the power she had. She really could make armies bow to her and obey her every whim. At the same time, I knew that she was doing the right thing for this world.
Ele Dio dominati sun nostri, nos destruet, ium mitere, profundissimum, inferni detractos.
Okay. Rabbit and Faye stepped forward and held their hands out towards the castle, focusing their energies and forcing the stone walls around it to crumble and dissolve down into the earth. Diana summoned her saber, letting it shine brilliantly as the purple taint over her skin began to twist and turn. Before my eyes, the taint on her back took shape, lifting off of Diana's skin and morphed into a set of demonic wings. I could only stare, jaw dropped, as Diana's body lifted off of the ground and began to fly over the legions, slowly gliding towards the castle.
To war! To battle!
At her final command, Diana's wings pulsated in the air, flapping gracefully as she swooped down and forward. She was charging and flying for the castle walls, saber bared and ready to spill blood. As the armies below began to bellow and march forward, Rabbit took hold of my shoulder and turned me away from the castle to face her.
Come, we must hurry.
Understanding the need for urgency, I nodded, and rushed forward with the rest of the incubi towards the slope down the mountainside.
Everything is in order. Sergeant Diana's guard are at the front lines, while Shadow is with his legion to the west.
What of our route?
We've done what we can to keep your way clear. We'll try to make sure the battle won't break through the path.
Okay. I nodded, feeling the need to rush nip at my heels, pushing me forward. My fiancé seemed to agree, gripping my hand and walking at my pace alongside me. However, as we finally arrived at the forest line, Faye and Rabbit stopped, looking back at us.
Straight through here. The sound of the war will always be on your right, so do not get lost.
Okay.
You'll be fine though, just follow the tree line.
In sync, my fiancé and I nodded in acknowledgement before turning to see the other brothers and their wives. So, this is it.
Princess, brother, we'll see you in the end.
We have faith in you. You'll make it there, and we'll return to the human world soon.
Kick his dead body a couple times for me, alright? Right in the head.
Sam, please.
We'll be right here rooting for you and watching your back, okay?
We'll finish this and rush in as soon as we can, alright?
Make sure you kick some serious ass. Show that old goat what he gets for messing with you.
We'll win this. We know we can.
You can do this. We'll see you soon, okay?
I smiled, despite the nerves running through my body. I held on to my fiancé's hand and gave it a hard squeeze before receiving one back in kind. We'll finish this. Then we'll go home. The group nodded before I slowly turned and looked into the tree line, took a breath, and rushed forward. Matching my speed, my love followed, weaving through the trees behind me to not lose sight of me. The journey was surprisingly uninterrupted. The sound of the war clashed beside us, causing me to cover my ears a bit from the volume. But I shook my head and pressed forward, not wanting to become distracted. The goal was to get to the castle. I had to focus. Before I could, however, I was pulled back by my fiancé, barely missing an arrow fly past my nose. Whoa! I quickly turned my head and spotted a small group of imps, creeping towards me with one reloading his bow with another arrow. I quickly grabbed my incubus and focused on making us become one with the shadows of the tree we were under. As the dark consumed our bodies, I felt my energy pulse from the amount being used. Still, I successfully dragged us both into the shadow plane. Nice. Perfect thing that I'm so glad I chose that. That's awesome.
What the shadow plane?
You didn't know what I was doing all that time that I was training? I looked back at him and smiled with a nod, knowing that he was completely unaware of what I had learned in my training. After all, he had been focusing on improving himself. I lowered my hand to his and grasped it, rushing forward and pulling him along. He managed to trip a bit before following along, keeping my pace. Even as some hideaway scouts and trickling soldiers came in our path, we simply ran through them unseen. It took the man behind me a bit to take it in, but he quickly adjusted, knowing that now wasn't the time to focus on that. I, however, felt my energy quickly drain. I was maintaining 2 people in the shadow plane after all. It only made sense that it used more energy. Still, I wanted to get as far as I could before returning to the real world. I gripped onto my incubus's hand hard as I began to wane, slowing my run and feeling a heavy wave of dizziness consume my mind. Soon enough, warmth returned to my body and we were both sent back to the corporeal demon world. Of course, it couldn't have been a perfect straight journey without a couple of guards at the edge of the tree line waiting for us. A band of remaining imps caught my eye, taking in that I had successfully maneuvered around their lines and had reached them. I grimaced and glared at the imps, seeing the group of 3 rush at us despite the weak feeling in my knees. However, I had one last trick up my sleeve. I focused on my shadow, commanding it to come forth and defend me. My incubus and the imps gasped as a dark shadowy figure of me sprouted from the ground and formed a large sword in her hand. I glared at the imps and pointed at them, feeling my energy quickly drain once again. Get them! On my command, my shadow rushed forward and began to slice through the imps, effectively disconnecting their limbs from their bodies and cutting them open. Nice! Shadow Warrior, go! Nice. Each tried to block, but only managed to have their attacks phase through my shadow like mist. They couldn't touch me, but I could kill them. Kinda confusing because when she was training, didn't he say that she couldn't kill people with her shadow? I am so confused. I don't know. Whatever. I smirked as my shadow quickly zipped between them in figure eights, ripping each of them apart before letting them fall to the ground, bleeding out and wailing in pain. That was all I could do before my energy finally forced my shadow back into the ground, a wave of exhaustion rolling through my body. I began to fall forward, exhausted. My fiancé, however, quickly rushed forward and caught me in his arms.
Whoa! Are you okay?
Huh? Now's not the time for this, but I appreciate it. I looked up to see James staring down at me with a deeply concerned gaze. We were safe for the moment, so I merely smiled up at him with a nod. I'm fine. I promise to protect you, like you protect me. James let out a small laugh, kissing my forehead and hugging me to him.
That you did. I'm so proud to call you mine.
I hugged him back, feeling relief that we had finally arrived at the castle and were about to rush inside. As we slowly pulled away, James lifted me up and helped me to my feet.
Will you be all right?
I nodded, shaking off the exhaustion from my mind. I was ready to end this. I looked up at the castle gates and felt a rush of determination run through me. Let's go finish this. With that, James and I rushed forward into the castle. The final battle had begun. Ooh, okay. Awkward. I probably should have left it on the last screen. But anyway, we will leave this episode right here. Things are getting really good, man. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this, and until next time, have a nice day. Bye!